Somewhere in your memory right now, there's an insult from years ago. You can probably recite it word for word. Maybe it was a joke at your expense. Maybe it was something a stranger said in passing. Now, try to remember a compliment from that same week. Harder, isn't it? That is not a coincidence. That is your brain, working exactly as designed. You'd think a compliment and an insult would carry equal weight. They don't. One sinks in, the other slides off. Why would evolution build a memory system this unfair? Because for most of human history, fairness was never the goal. Survival was. And surviving meant paying far more attention to threats than to praise. Picture two of your ancestors on the same day. One hears, "Well done," after a successful hunt. The other hears a warning growl from something hidden in the brush. Which memory do you think mattered more for staying alive tomorrow? The compliment felt nice. The warning kept them breathing. Over hundreds of thousands of years, brains that clung to danger signals outlived brains that lingered on praise. Psychologist Roy Baumeister spent years studying this exact asymmetry. Along with several colleagues, he reviewed decades of research and landed on a phrase that became famous in psychology. Bad is stronger than good. Not slightly stronger, consistently, measurably stronger across memory, relationships, and even how quickly emotions spread through a room. Think about how fast this shows up in your own life. One rude comment from a coworker can wreck your entire afternoon. 10 kind comments barely register. Why does the math feel so lopsided? Because your brain isn't measuring frequency, it's measuring risk. A threat, even a small social one, gets flagged as urgent information. A compliment gets filed as pleasant but non-essential. Non-essential information fades. Urgent information sticks. Here's where the science gets more specific. Researcher Elizabeth Kinzinger has studied how emotion shapes memory formation, and her work suggests something striking. Negative experiences tend to be remembered with sharper, more vivid detail than positive ones. You don't just remember that someone hurt your feelings. You remember their tone, their exact words, where you were standing. That level of detail almost never survives for a compliment. Why would your brain bother encoding all that extra detail? Because detail is what lets you avoid the same danger twice. If a certain tone of voice preceded an attack once, your brain wants to recognize that tone instantly next time. Vague warnings are useless. Specific warnings save you. Now here's the part that reframes everything you think you know about criticism. You might assume this negativity bias is simply a flaw, a leftover glitch making modern humans overly sensitive. But psychologist Paul Rosen offered a different way to see it. He described how a single negative event can outweigh many positive ones, using a simple but unforgettable example. One drop of sewage ruins a pot of soup completely, but one drop of pure water added to sewage does nothing to fix it. Negative and positive are not opposites operating on equal footing. They are asymmetrical forces. This asymmetry wasn't a design flaw, it was a survival tool. In your ancestors' world, one mistake could be fatal. Eating the wrong berry once, trusting the wrong stranger once. There was rarely a version of getting it wrong 10 times, but it evened out because you got it right 9 other times. One bad outcome could end everything. So the brain evolved to weight bad information heavily, because in an unforgiving environment, missing one danger signal cost far more than missing one reward. Consider how this plays out today, in a world almost nothing like the one your brain was built for. You give a presentation at work. 9 people say it went great. One person raises an eyebrow and says nothing.
Which moment replays in your head that night? It's the eyebrow. Every time. Have you ever reread an old text message from someone just to analyze a single word choice? That instinct isn't insecurity. It's ancient risk-scanning software running on hardware built long before smartphones existed. Here's a question worth sitting with. If your brain is built to overweight the bad, does that mean your negative memories are lying to you? Not exactly. They're not lying. They're just outdated in their sense of proportion. The insult you remember in perfect detail probably wasn't as catastrophic as it felt. But your brain didn't store it based on how catastrophic it actually was.
It stored it based on how threatening it felt to your social standing in that moment, and social standing to your ancestors was survival currency. This is why a single piece of criticism can outweigh a room full of praise, even when you know, logically, that the praise is more representative of reality. Logic runs on the slow, deliberate part of your brain. Threat detection runs on the fast, ancient part, and the fast part almost always gets there first. Think about relationships for a moment. Researchers studying long-term couples have found something consistent. It takes far more positive interactions to offset the damage of a single harsh one. Some relationship studies suggest a ratio near 5-to-1, sometimes higher, just to maintain stability after conflict. That's not because people are fragile. It's because the brain evolved to treat conflict as data about danger and praise as data about comfort. Comfort is nice, danger is urgent. So when you replay an old insult on a loop, you're not being irrational. You're running a very old, very well-tested subroutine that once helped your ancestors avoid getting hurt, exiled, or killed. The subroutine doesn't know that a mildly rude comment from a stranger on the internet carries a fraction of the stakes that a real threat once did. It just knows this pattern matches danger. Store it, remember it, stay alert to it happening again. This also explains something else you've probably noticed. Praise fades fast, but you can bring an old insult back into full vivid color instantly, even decades later. That's not because the insult was more important than the praise. It's because your brain filed it under a completely different priority system. Here's the modern mirror of all this. You are no longer walking through a landscape with predators and rival tribes. You are walking through comment sections, performance reviews, group chats, and passing remarks from people who will forget saying them by tomorrow. But your memory system hasn't been updated. It is still applying prehistoric weighting to a world of low-stakes noise. That single critical comment under your photo, that one unimpressed look during your idea, that version of you it took years to eventually let go of. The one who could recite an insult from 10th grade word for word, but couldn't remember a single compliment from that same year. None of that means you're overly sensitive or broken. It means your brain is doing precisely what kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years, taking bad news seriously. So seriously that it can't help but remember it in vivid, permanent detail, long after the moment that created it has stopped mattering at all. So the next time an old insult resurfaces in your memory, word for word, tone intact, exactly as it happened, you don't have to fight it or feel foolish for remembering it so clearly. You can simply recognize it for what it is, not proof that you're too sensitive, not evidence that the insult mattered as much as it felt. Just an ancient alarm, still ringing long after the danger has passed, still convinced that one sharp word deserves more memory than 100 kind ones ever will.